As we continue our narrated presentation, we're going to start talking about practical prevention strategies. Think back to a classroom that you were a student in, or a classroom that you had visited, or maybe even the classroom that you currently work in. Think about the overall feel of the classroom. Was it inviting? Did it have all of the environmental aspects we just reviewed in the previous PowerPoint? The 4 influencing factors: people, positive relationships, warm space, safe environment, consistent schedules, routines, and transitions, materials that promote learning. Most importantly, did this classroom run efficiently or like a fine ran machine? If it did run smoothly, the answer is yes, is probably because a teacher had employed several prevention strategies that help children feel confident and competent in the environment. The expectations were known by all in the classroom. Children knew what to expect from the adults and the environment, and children knew their role in the classroom. That's what prevention strategies do. They help a classroom run efficiently and effectively, right? You're preventing disruptions, behaviors, anything that distracts from the learning, the planned learning. All right. So limits must be stated positively. Limits should inform children what to do rather than what not to do. Positive statements help reinforce appropriate behavior and provide models of communication for children to emulate. It also decreases the likelihood for children to respond with defensiveness when you use positive statements. Focusing on the behavior rather than on the child. This prevention strategy is probably one of the most important. Messages that start with "you always" or "you never" can be damaging to a child's self-concept and may be perceived by a child as attacking and critical. They tend to produce feelings of guilt and shame and can ultimately result in lowering a child's self-esteem. When caregivers and teachers focus on the behavior rather than a child's character, they preserve a child's integrity. The first strategy on this slide is state what is expected rather than pose a question. If you pose a question, you imply that a child has a choice. If something really isn't a choice, don't turn your statement into a question. Only provide a choice if it's appropriate. And if you are offering choices as a strategy, then you need to make sure that both choices that are offered are appropriate and favorable. So you wouldn't want to say, you can either get in line or go outside, or you can lose your outdoor time. You choose, right? Because you don't want a child to lose their outdoor time. So instead you can say, stand at the back of the line and make sure the door closes, or stand at the middle of the line next to your friend. Where are you going to stand? So the child is still going to stand in line. The choice is where, right? Either at the back, and then they get to be the door closer, or they can stand with their friend in the middle. Both are positive. Choices should be positive and empowering. Now, if you give a choice, also be sure to give a child enough wait time to make their decision. The final strategy on this slide is about giving children a heads up when there is going to be a change in a schedule, activity, or routine. If you try to rush a child out of an activity without giving a warning about a change, it may be disruptive and they will certainly respond accordingly. When children are doing well, it is very important that you acknowledge this through words and gestures. Positive reinforcement helps children build confidence and encourage them to repeat the desired behavior. It is important for adults to focus on the specific behavior rather than on the child. Similarly, it's important to focus on the behavior rather than what it makes you as the adult feels. When you say, "I'm so proud of you," you aren't focusing on the desired behavior. You make it about yourself and possibly about gaining adult approval and creating praise seekers, right? So the child doesn't do the desired behavior because they understand that that produces a certain result. The child does the desired behavior to get the approval from the adult. So we want to help children develop intrinsic feeling of accomplishment about themselves in choosing the desired behavior versus the approval from the adult. As teachers, we need to develop a tolerance to some of the more harmless behaviors, right? Ignoring minor incidents. Sometimes it's noise, clutter, and attention-seeking behavior. As long as children are still being productive and aren't bothering anyone, but maybe you, it's okay to let it go and not to respond. Children need to know that you are a resource. They should be comfortable coming to you when they have a problem, that positive relationship where they feel safe in seeking you out. They need to know that you are there to protect and guide them. Children will learn that the adult is willing to listen and respond in a fair and supportive manner, and then they will seek you out. Scanning the room helps the adult observe children in their activities. Using proximity when it is necessary to stay close by when younger children are still learning to play together. Or proximity is used when you feel the activity level in a certain area in the classroom is raising, you just walk towards that area. It may be a group of students, it may be one or two, it may be one student. By walking towards that student or group of student or pair of students, their awareness that you're aware of them can help their activity level diminish. It's amazing. And I have to say that as you, and maybe some of you have experienced this because you have experience in the classroom, but you can develop as a teacher that innate, it's almost like a meter of when the activity level in your classroom is rising. There's a difference. There's a hum in the classroom where children are engaged and they might be talking amongst themselves, but it's a certain level. And then if it starts to rise up a little bit higher than what is engaged learning, you become aware of it. You start scanning the classroom and understanding what's happening, and then you start moving towards that area that needs you to be there to help support them continue to be engaged in their learning. So these are prevention strategies, and we're going to pause here. In the next narrated PowerPoint, I'll introduce some intervention strategies, and some of these you'll probably be familiar to some of you, and perhaps some will be new. Sometimes prevention strategies and intervention strategies can overlap or look very similar. It's the way that we use prevention strategies and how we extend intervention strategies that become effective.